Salute, General, Iro, Musa, Etiquette. I'm affectionately referred to as General Etiquette. And I've been thinking, right? So first and foremost, we out here. It's beautiful. Spent the day coaching lacrosse. Amazing kids. We won, right? So I didn't necessarily know who they were ahead of time. They didn't know me. Apparently they hadn't won a game in 2 years. We won. We put in that pain, apply pressure. It was a dope interaction, and it's been an incredible morning thus far, right? Like I said, you guys can see the view, you can see the angles, man. It's beautiful. Everybody's out here working hard, putting in pain and doing their thing. With that being said, I've been thinking, right? So I definitely want to thank everybody for engaging the channel. There was a question that was posted. Like I said, we building community through thought-provoking discourse. There was a question that was asked to me about what my thoughts are on religion versus spirituality, and what does it look like when your parents aren't necessarily accepting of the way you choose to live your life and, the decisions that you're making, right? So first and foremost, I wanted to say I'm not necessarily a proponent of religion, right? Now, you have to understand my vantage point comes specifically because I'm a black man. And being a black man, we all understand how certain religions were introduced to us. Now, whilst there are religions, and I'm learning more and more, right, that speak to the power and the essence of the black man, woman, individual, a lot of forms of religion have been used to suppress and oppress us. So for me personally, right, I feel like religion can be used as a crutch if not utilized correctly. And we've also seen the plethora of examples seeing religion being used as a source of coercion and control. So I'm not a big proponent of religion per se. What I am a fan of is spirituality, right? Because I feel like spirituality is all-encompassing, and at the very least, more encompassing from the standpoint that, for me personally and humbly, it speaks more to the individual relationship that you have with whomever you believe your creator and or whatever bureaucracy of a spiritual network that you believe exists, however you believe it exists. I believe spirituality sort of takes the red tape, the rules and the regulations away from the whole process and focuses and hones in more on your personal connection with source, your personal connection and ability to tap in, receive messages, be nourished and fulfilled, and essentially tap into that source and that energy, right? So I'm a firm proponent of spirituality, right? For anyone who feels like they're spiritual, who wants to get into spirituality, I am a firm proponent of that. I agree with that. I don't necessarily agree with religion for the reasons that I already alluded to, but I'll reiterate it. Like I said, as a black man, religion has been used as a source and form of control and coercion for a very, very long time. So it's not to say that there aren't lessons that can be derived from it, because the truth of the matter is that we all know, right, there are a plethora of lessons that you can take from the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, right? There's a bunch of religions out there, and me personally, I ultimately believe that it's all just different sides of the same coin. I feel like we're all just finding different ways to speak to similar ideologies and methodologies about living life, right? So to answer your question, I will definitely say I'm a proponent of spirituality, because that speaks more to your personal connection with source and not necessarily the manipulative tactics that have been used, because religion, just like a hammer, is a tool, right? And how it's utilized is based on the person that's attempting to utilize it, right? So it's kind of hard to indict religion itself, in and of itself. It's what's indictable And what needs to be recognized is the way in which we've attempted to utilize religion thus far, right? And quick interjunction, y'all see me here on my lacrosse stick. We out here, like I said, everybody working hard. It's a beautiful, beautiful day, right? And in part 2 of what I wanted to get into, right? In the question I was asked,
you guys in line
what does it look like? What does it look like? No problem, brother, right? So the next part of the question was, what does it look like when your parents don't necessarily accept your personal ideologies, the way that you're evolving, and the things that you're learning and trying to put into practice for all intents and purposes? And my offhand response is, this goes right back into my last video about setting boundaries. The truth is, you have to be okay with the way that you live your life. The goal is to set high standards, unbiasedly, and then do your damnedest to live up to those standards and not give a damn about how anybody else feels. Now, I'm not going to pretend that anybody wants to be in upset with family members, right? One of the reasons I started to try to develop and work on the idea of what does it look like to have healthy relationships and to set healthy boundaries was so that I could properly traverse my interpersonal relationships. But at the end of the day, you have to be true to yourself. You have to be confident in self, and you have to do the things necessary, right, for you to be okay with you. And that includes your family accepting you. And what you can't force is your family to accept you, right? So sometimes you have to be okay with loving people from afar. That's the very hard and difficult reality, is that you may have to be okay with loving some people from afar. Because at the end of the day, it's about growth and progression. And you can't force growth on an individual. You can't force acceptance. You can't force tolerance. You can't force understanding, right? So when you're saying, what do you do when family doesn't necessarily agree with and or recognize the personal ideologies and methodologies that you're trying to put into practice? Sometimes you have to love that individual from afar and be okay with that, right? Because what's most important is for you to live your truth. And so long as whatever it is that you're attempting to do doesn't fall outside of the bounds of what's acceptable. Like, for example, there are certain things that people want to get into, right, that is unacceptable, that falls outside of the bounds of civil society, acceptability in society, etc., right? There are things that we have to put a cap on. There are things that you have to restrain within yourself because that isn't okay in the scheme of things. But if you can unbiasedly look at the way that you're attempting to live your life, right, and you know that you're trying to better yourself, and it's just that, right, your people may not be used to what it is that you're trying to do. They may not understand it, but it isn't morally wrong. It doesn't disrupt your moral fiber. It doesn't put into question your morality or your character. Anything that you do that makes you a better version of you, your loved ones should be in full support of that. Genuinely, if it genuinely, and that's a case-by-case basis, right? There's not a list that you could compile, because we live in a time where people are trying to make everything acceptable, right? People want to live in a place where they aren't bounded by anything specifically, and that is also not feasible, right? So to ultimately and fully and holistically complete your answer, like I said, spirituality is more all-encompassing, right? It allows you to work on in your own time your personal relationship with Source. It allows you to take your time and develop, like I said, a methodology and an ideology that works best for you to mitigate and control the pace of your spiritual progression, where you don't necessarily feel bounded by, right, prehistoric or archaic notions and ideologies that aren't necessarily applicable to your life, right? And then lastly, if you have family that can't get with how you're living, if you know unbiasedly what you're doing is within the realm of acceptability, and it's just a different way of going about life based off of what your family has done historically, then you may have to love your family from afar. You have to ask, how important is it for you to live your truth? How important is it for you to be at peace with yourself? Because you don't want to be at peace with the world and at war with yourself, right? We're living in a time of self-love, self-acceptance, right? We have to recognize and highlight ourselves. So continue on your path of spiritual growth. Continue on your path of spirituality. And like I said, if your people can't love you for who you're becoming, then you have to learn to love them from afar. People won't change sometimes. You have to. You just have to shift into the energy that works best for you. So like I said, man, we out here, get outside, exercise. We out here coaching lacrosse. Like I said, we took the W. We doing our thing. I definitely wanted to respond to the video. It's a beautiful day. Sharpen your mind, sharpen your body, raise your EQ. Just keep working on yourself. This is the platform, this is the channel for consistent and relentless growth. I definitely hope that I was able to speak to the question that was asked. That's definitely my thoughts on it. Thank you so much for engaging the channel. And yeah, if y'all have questions, y'all have things y'all want to hear me talk about, like I said, we're building community through thought-provoking discourse. So let's go, man. Y'all enjoy your day. Y'all get outside, get some of this beautiful air. Man, it's a lot going on. God bless everybody. I know times are hard. God bless you. If no one said it today, I love you. If no one said it today, I'm proud of you. Keep doing what you have to do, man. It's a marathon. It's not a race. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Correction, man. Slow and steady wins the race. Y'all know how the law of attraction work. Whatever you put out there, you get 10 times over. Bless somebody. Give somebody a compliment. Give somebody some money that you see that could use it. Share some food. Man, just keep growing and keep getting better. Much love, man. So when you see me, say what's up, but I prefer you salute. General, Iro, Musa, etiquette. Y'all be good.